MetaPlace is free software which enables anybody, technology literate or not, to build their own customized world.
We want to see what kinds of virtual worlds people make. And if we set too many rules in advance, we'll be inhibiting the possible growth. So our terms of service is not a standard legal document. Instead, it's a declaration of rights and responsibilities. We say to owners that they have the right to make money, the right to run their worlds the way they see fit, the right to freedom of expression, all of the standard rights from the UN Assembly, really. And we also say that they have some responsibilities, not to break the law, not to harm minors, that kind of thing, things that are well-established legal precedents. We also give them a model terms of service that they can use for their worlds that grants their users freedom of expression, freedom of assembly, those kinds of things. So we're trying to create a framework so that virtual worlds can really grow beyond the kinds of very closed services, very money-oriented services that they've been till now. I mean, we hope we make money, of course, but we're very idealistic about it.
All worlds are welcome in MetaPlace. The jumping woman world.
I call it the zero-gravity goth chick world. Here we go. So this is him, the nerd, and these are guests coming to his party.
Or the nerd world.
And you have to spend time with the guests to keep them from getting bored. So he wanted to make a game that would teach nerds not to be nerds.
Or an unknown Swedish rock band world.
They have made it so that they can show off their music.
Or a world full of snow. But what if an active racist wants to create a pure white world? Would he also be welcome?
You know, different countries have different laws about this, and given that we are designed as an international service, that means that we actually have to obey the laws of all the countries. We don't get to pick. If there are worlds that are against the law in one way or another, we will close them down. But we think most people aren't interested in breaking the law. We're giving them freedom of expression. They retain ownership of their IP. So it's really their world. Most of the time, we won't know what they're doing. We're not spying on them. We're not watching.
The minute people in the Netherlands or Germany or Saudi Arabia start using your system, there's going to be content there that's just not acceptable.
Will the future bring virtual worlds where we have to conform to all the laws in the world? Wearing a digital headscarf if I'm logging in from Saudi Arabia and take it off again when I'm in France? Every country has distinct laws, and they stem from a distinct culture.
One example is that, you know, the phenomenon of age play, where people would create avatars based on children and they would engage in virtual sexual acts. Well, that doesn't appear to be illegal in the United States, right? But it does appear to be illegal almost everywhere else in the world. And in fact, they got into trouble with a Dutch prosecutor over this, right? And it also appeared to be against the law in Germany, right? And I'm quite sure it's illegal in Canada, right? So now they have a problem where they have to think about real world laws all over the world.
Hey, Nathan, 你好。Hey, 今天是主要是说
We have to do everything we can to make sure that we are consistent with Chinese laws.
In China, Eric Yi Peng is the founder of UWorld, a world that looks like Second Life, but with none of the rights and privileges for the user. Players are provided with greater guidance, and the colours of the world are geared towards the Chinese love of pastel shades.
The whole concept of total freedom, that doesn't work with Chinese people, right? They get lost completely when they first time they get into the world. Nobody actually trying to help them, or there's not enough guidance in there. And that's one thing. The other thing is the way that people socialize is different, right? And I'm not talking about Chinese that they're not social people. They do socialize, but in a different way. In Second Life, people just come up to you and talk to you, right? And that's not the case in China, so. So there are things like that that makes people think they're not part of that world. It's really the sense of where you come from, right, and whether you can blend in, right, and that's probably one of the barriers that keep the Chinese user to get into Second Life.
不知道你这边录了没有？
对，头一阵儿有一个就是有我世界里面有一个活动，特别好玩，然后我也参加了，我录了一个视频给你看一下吧。然后现在切换到飞的一个状态。
哇，这个南瓜是谁做的呀？还是里边那南瓜好看？这个南瓜真难看。
对，这个活动是找南瓜头，刚才又找到了一个可以报告给主持人，然后可以做一个评奖。
你最后咋样？
最后没。
I think all the content created by the user, the copyright is still theirs, but we do have all the unlimited right of use. So that's because we have to be able to move the stuff around. Because we are the operators, right? We are the management of this world.
The building that we're on right now, Marina City, whoever owns it, they do not have the right to destroy it because it's part of the architectural heritage of the city of Chicago. So whoever owns this building has a certain kind of stewardship, right? And they have a responsibility to manage it well. I mean, there are lots of things you own and you can't do whatever you want to with. If you own a dog, you can't torture it. If you own a space that's given rise to a virtual community, it's not just something, I own it and I can do whatever I want with it, but now I have a certain kind of responsibility and stewardship for it. I have to manage this community and I have to take care of it and nurture it, right? So ownership does not entitle you to destroy.
So if authoritarianism is frowned upon in the online world, what about a different form of government? The creators of the game, EVE, invented a game about law and politics, peace and war. As the game designers believe in social democracy, they called for an election among the world's space inhabitants. In a unique experiment, the parliament came together in the home of EVE's creators and the world's oldest democracy, Iceland.
You will start to function as the chieftains in Iceland in the old days. You will convey the message to Alþingi, which is basically when you meet us down at CCP. And you will tell us what needs to be done. You are taking the first steps. You are the first goðar of the online environment. You are the first chieftains of the internet.
It was pretty funny going around Iceland last night and people saying, so why are you here? And you're like, yeah, well, you know that game EVE Online? And they're like, yeah, we know EVE Online. And it's like, oh, I'm vice chairman of the universe. And they're like, no way, I'm so pleased to meet you. And there were guys who were doing that. I originally started in EVE to play like spaceships online. I thought that'd be kind of cool. And I think about after 3 months, then it was not more spaceships online, then it was like societies online. And the best way to actually conquer somebody else was not to try and kill all their assets in the game, it was to try and socially engineer the moral decay of their own alliance. That was the best way. We killed a lot of alliances just by forum propaganda, you know, going on the forums and saying, okay, these guys are losing, you've lost some big asset, your leadership is corrupt, they're lying to you. These were the things that destroyed alliances.